discussion, information items, COVID-19 transition.
Mary Ann will pull up the numbers. As you can see, things are still continuing to trend in the right direction, as we only have one category in substantial. That's 109 cases, so we're significantly down in that category. While we have been in blue, I believe the last 2 or 3 weeks, it still is not. We were in orange at least once in the last 4. Everything else is in the minimal transition level, including our positivity rates, both locally and in the Cook County. So from our weekly matrix that we're following, things are going in the right direction. On the next tab is obviously the plan. That has not changed. And Dr. Freitas is going to provide some updates on how student attendance is going, and as well as what steps are being taken to see if we can increase the number of days for students to come 4 days during the fourth quarter. In regards to vaccinations, no new update. I think we're moving around in the right direction. We've had that one network with Pillars. We were able to get 50 staff members vaccinated, as discussed at the last meeting. A majority of our staff are still seeking out some appointments on their own or had already sought out some additional appointments. We have about 34 people on the list. So the next opportunity we get or call we get where they have vacancies, we'll be sending that group. So I think we're still on pace to have a majority of the staff vaccinated by the start of fourth quarter, or at least have received their first shot by the start of the first quarter, or fourth quarter, excuse me. Dr. Freitas, you want to go into some of your points, please?
Of course. Good evening, board members, students, parents, and everybody from RB. So quick update on our plan. So the building admin, we're finalizing the steps that need to be taken to allow up to 50% of enrollment to attend for 4 days. This is a level approach, but we want to make sure we do this right. We're working with our maintenance team and staff to set up 51 classrooms to ensure social distancing. We're facilitating vaccination opportunities for staff. We are securing and we have identified our blended learning rooms, overflow, the library, study hall, the blended room, and the computer lab. And more importantly, we've created a survey so we can know what families will be sending their students for in-person or continuing fully remote. The survey was sent last Thursday, the 18th, and now we're doing the important work, which is the follow-up. But I did want to share some preliminary data with the board. Currently, as 770 students have completed the survey, that's about 47%. The deadline is this Friday, so students, please complete the survey. As far as parents, we had 495 parents that are registered in Skyward, about 38% on complete the parent survey. And it basically asks 2 key questions. The first one, for the students, and I shared results. Please indicate your preferred instructional model for fourth quarter. 44% chose in person, 55% chose to remain fully remote. And then out of that group, which of the following in-person learning scenarios did you prefer? It's about 50-50 for the students. 50% would want to continue with the 2 days, and 50% would want the 4 days. For the parents, the same question. Please indicate the preferred instructional model for your student for fourth quarter. 62% indicated they would want their student to come in. 37% indicated they're going to continue fully remote. And for those that chose to be in person, 77% prefer the 4 days, and 22% prefer, 77% prefer the 4 days, 22% prefer the 2 days. So quickly, I do want to respond why the 2-day option, for those that are thinking about it. Guys, initially, we weren't considering the 2 days, but based on feedback from students, teachers, and families, some people felt we needed to preserve that 2-day option. Students and families have established unbreakable routines and have committed to professional and personal responsibilities around the 2 days. What's more important, equity. We're giving students and families what they need to be successful, and that is the key in the great work we do here with equity. Now I wanted to dig a little deeper in the data. So as of today, as a few hours ago, we had 788 responses, 353 in person for fourth quarter. This is students, 435 will stay remote. 172 chose 2 days, 181 chose 4 days. So 2 days a week, we would have max, as of right now, 354 students. That would be our highest number. But again, we're only about halfway done, and now comes the phone calls and follow-up, so we still have a lot of work to do. So what are we doing with all this data? We have created an Excel spreadsheet with tabs for all learners. We have 3 tabs, fully remote, 2 days, 4 days, and we have a 4th tab for the students that haven't responded at the moment. We're gonna get that list to the teachers' hands. They will cross-reference that list with their class rosters. Next, we will give a Google form to the teacher so they can indicate which class period may be over capacity. Then we're gonna continue working with Burham, our new facilities managers, to see if we can correct some spacing issue. If not, we will utilize a blended space with an alpha split for teachers and class periods that are over capacity. So a student may have to utilize a blended space periodically 2 days a week in some classes, but should never be in the blended space for all day. Like the student could be there for a period if for some reason that class, happened to be full. If a student decides they want to come in, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that student comes in. If the student wants to stay home, again, we have to be flexible. The student can't stay home. Admin will be communicating the expectations with families and students as we evolve. But again, guys, we are in the middle of this actual work, and now we have a lot of phone calls and emails and follow-up to make sure we engage everybody, because we must know who can come in so we can plan and create the conditions that are safe and conducive to learning. Currently, we're implementing targeted intervention for 3rd quarter. We're permitting students that have Ds and Fs and students with IEPs to attend school daily. So we have some students that have been coming in 4 days a week. Attendance, we're still averaging just about 200 students, daily. And again, some of the reasons, I know the weather is a little better now, right? But, temperature has been cold and it's been snowy. Remote learning, has worked for some. So those are, some of the reasons there. And again, the 2 days have been working for some students, right? Staffing, we're facilitating the vaccinations. I want to say, majority of us should be vaccinated by the first week of March, including myself. So that is good news. For lunch, we're still providing grab-and-go lunches to every student. Guys, get your food. And I want to tell everybody, no one should ever feel embarrassed about grabbing food, okay? I appreciate the students that grab, but no one should ever feel, guys, this is food for you guys, okay? Maybe your parents are working. Maybe you're going through something. Get the food, pop it in the microwave, and eat it. Guys, I eat it good, too. It's delicious. Activities and athletics. We're currently streaming athletic contests live on 2 platforms. All contests in the main gym can be viewed through the National Federation of High Schools, nfhsnetwork.com. I believe there is a small fee, but it's kind of like buying a ticket and going to a game, $5, $10. All contests in our other venues may be viewed at rbhs208.net/rbhslive/. For boys and girls basketball, we're currently allowing up to 50 fans, but unfortunately for the other sports, we're not allowing fans at the moment.
And that's not our choice, right? That's just based on the guidelines.
No, that is that is based on the guidelines as recommended by the state, by the county, and the IHSA. Okay, you guys know that socially distancing, right? That's very important, kind of in this environment, and of course, always wearing your mask and washing your hands. So at the moment, Dr. Skinkis, that summarizes my COVID-19 transition plan report.
And I see you got the last sentence. Probably a lot of parents that are watching or here tonight want to make sure they hear that last sentence under clubs. What's your?
Oh, excuse me, guys. Clubs are up and running, and remember, RB is currently working on culminating events such as prom, graduation, and the Apollo Awards. Guys, we have not forgotten about those key events. We're working with parents right now. We're working with the admin team to make sure that we celebrate the students the right way. I know I get the calls and I get the emails, guys. That's one of our top priorities, to make sure we celebrate them safely for all the parents out there and the students. You guys deserve it as well.
Thank you, Dr. Freitas. Mr. Smith, and that concludes our report, unless there's questions.
Questions?
So a couple questions, Dr. Freitas, on the survey.
Yeah.
And how the administration uses that information. So you indicated that both parents and students were being surveyed.
Correct.
So whose opinion matters more, I would ask? If a student says, I want to be fully remote, and the family says, I want my student in class, how do you navigate those waters?
Well, we call the parents, we call the families. I mean, guys, mom and dad are their boss, okay? I want to be clear, but I want to include the students in this conversation because I believe any good decision should be decided as a collective with their family, an admin team, a teacher team. But no, parents will have the ultimate choice, and we will be following up with the parents. You know, hey, Mary, hey, Joe, complete the survey. So we'll be engaging the parents in our follow-ups.
Okay, thank you. That's
Yep.
what I assumed you were going to say, but I just wanted to hear you say it.
No,
on
no,
record.
no, of course, of course.
And since people were given choices of 2 days or 4 days.
Yes.
Is it possible we would have some students here 2 days and some 4 days? I mean, how many, there's a lot of permutations possible now with the student opinion, the parent opinion. Some people want 2 and not 4. How does all that get worked out? And what do we have capacity for?
So, I mean, our plan has been 50% enrollment, which roughly is 800, you know. So capacity, you know, I'd say, I mean, according to a plan that we've shared, would be, you know, 800. Correct, you know. Yep.
And it might be helpful, I think, for those watching at home to go over one more time why lunch doesn't work. I think that's the question I get all the time. I think a lot of us get that. So talk through why the lunch room doesn't work, and especially with our current schedule.
And so, you know, the problem is, right, teaching and learning in this environment, we have to try to avoid crowding. You know, we have to try to avoid, you know, people right, opening their mouth, eating and drinking, and the aerosol and the particles that really come out. I know it sounds silly, but right, eating in a restaurant, which a cafeteria is a restaurant, is probably one of the most dangerous things, you know, that we can do, you know, at the moment. And our job is safety. We've preached safety. As you guys have seen, we've brought more students. We're strategically opening up our school, and I believe that's what's kept us safe. We're doing it right. But, I mean, guys, eating in a building, eating lunch, it's probably one of the most dangerous things we can do, and we just, I mean...
Well, the guidelines are no more than 50 people in a cafeteria, so we'd have to spread around the students throughout the building.
Yeah.
And then they have to take off their masks to eat. And so even back this summer when we met with the full committee with parents, teachers, students, you know, that was discussed as our priority was to try to get kids back in the building, even if that sacrificed the amount of time they could be in the building and for how long. So that's why, you know, if you look at the plan, the next phase is try to get students back 4 days a week. You know, based on this summer, what will happen, what next fall will look like, will all depend on the governor and what the IDPH does with the guidelines. Unless they reduce the number of people that can be in one space, we're going to have to continue to look at a half-day schedule until they reduce those guidelines. You know, we're continuing to work on that. The Superintendent Association, the High School Superintendent Association is working with our lobbyists to try to work with the IDPH. So we understand some parents want to be back full-time like traditional. We're working towards that. We're just not there yet.
It's a difficult situation. We'll get it. We'll get it. Start one piece at a time, right?
That's right.
We'll get, once we get the 4 days, and we can focus on next year and focus on graduation. It's important.
We're only
Thank you,
moving
Hector, for
forward,
all
and
your
we're only
work.
growing. We're not going backwards. We're only moving forward.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Freitas, for your report and the hard work for your team.
Any other further questions? No, Laura?
No, I said,